wanted to talk about the Zhiyun Crane 2S, a handheld gimbal that I've been using for the past 4-6 months now, and it's a throwback to the traditional upright handheld gimbals, which I actually much prefer. Disclaimer, Zhiyun is sponsoring this video, so Zhiyun, thank you for that, but this is not going to be a video where I'm going to tell you should buy the Zhiyun Crane 2S, but rather, if you were in the market to get a gimbal, then you should probably know that the simpler a gimbal is to operate, then the better off you're going to be to tell your stories out in the field. Because from experience, the more complicated a gimbal is to operate and set up, then the more frustrated that you're going to be on set. Like if I have to attach this and that on a gimbal and it takes like 20 to 30 minutes just to set up a gimbal, I'm gonna be really mad, the crew's gonna be really mad, and the client, if I'm working with a client, is gonna be really, really mad, all because I spent 30 minutes trying to figure out my stupid gimbal. This is not a stupid gimbal, by the way, this is a great gimbal. Oh boy, I messed that one up. I need more cocoa. So currently filming on the Crane 2S. Just filming outside the window on the passenger side, and I'm moving, I'm vibrating, but looks like the shots are real smooth. I've been following some cars, it's so cool. And the fact that it's so easy to use, I can just focus on just getting the shot. So I know there's a ton of new gimbals out in the market, but I honestly just like the simplicity of the Zhiyun Crane 2S. And even though the Crane 2S already has a lot of features, like you have the focus wheel, you get the joystick, I actually don't use any of those functions. Like all I really use is the trigger in the front of the gimbal, which allows me to go into follow mode. But I honestly prefer not to use those advanced features because I don't really end up using it. I just wanted to do two simple things, and that's to film smooth shots easily and to set up my camera on the gimbal. And of all the gimbals that I've used in the past, the Crane 2S is by far the easiest for me to operate and the easiest for me to set up. But what's really cool about the Crane 2S is that it has Manfrotto mounts that if you have a Manfrotto PL plate, you know, these guys, you can easily attach that plate to the camera and attach that whole thing to the gimbal. And with the Crane 2S, if you wanted to film vertical content, there is a vertical mount that you can attach your camera vertically, which is really nice. Obviously there's no camera there, but just pretend. This is by far my favorite way to attach my camera to the gimbal because it just makes the whole setup super easy. I don't have to screw my camera in, I just simply attach my camera onto the quick release plate and attach the whole setup onto the gimbal, and I'm done. And what's great about the Manfrotto plates is that most tripods are compatible with these plates. I even added a secondary Manfrotto quick release plate. It's my favorite one. This is the RC2. And I have this plate on all my gimbals, all my tripods. It just makes it super easy to take my camera from my gimbal and attach it to a tripod and vice versa. But the Crane 2S has those Manfrotto mounts, which I really appreciate, and you can attach your camera horizontally or vertically. And when you attach your camera to the Zhiyun Crane 2S, yes, you have to balance the gimbal as you would with any other gimbal. But what's great about the Crane 2S is that once you have it mostly balanced, you can go into the menu of the Crane 2S and auto-calibrate the motor strength depending on what your camera setup is. This is really cool because you don't have to decide if your motor strength should be low, medium, or high. I just set it to auto-calibrate and it's done within seconds. Speaking of balancing your camera on a gimbal, what I really appreciate about the Crane 2S are the locking mechanisms on each axis. And so if you wanted to balance your camera on the gimbal, you can actually lock all three axes and then just focus on balancing one axis at a time. So if you wanted to focus on balancing the tilt axis first, you just unlock the tilt axis and then you just balance it there. And then same thing with the roll axis and the pan axis. Not that big of a deal, but it's one of those small details that I appreciate that makes the whole setup easier. And since this is kind of like a throwback to the traditional upright gimbals, you might notice that the rear handle, the cradle, can potentially block the view of your camera screen. Well, if you wanted, you can actually detach this part of the gimbal to make the rear cradle a lot lower. I actually haven't done that yet, and so I'm gonna do that right now. Now, if you want to see how to do this properly, my friend Josh Morgan from Momentum Productions made a video about it, so I'm gonna post his video in the link down below. So I'm just kind of going off memory what he said. And there you go. The cradle is now lower. All right, let's go film some stuff. Huge thanks to Zhiyun for sponsoring this video, and if you want to check out the Zhiyun Crane 2S, the link will be down below. And whatever gimbal you have, just make sure that it's easy for you to operate because you want to focus on telling your story. There's nothing more frustrating as a filmmaker if your gear gets in the way of telling your story. So whatever gear you have, just make sure it helps you tell your story. All right, guys, I'm out. Thanks so much for watching. Thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell button down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.